Hello, welcome to today's episode of Talk in the Park. It's been a little while, and there's been decent reason for that. Today we're going to talk about the concept of being okay, and how it's okay to not be okay. I know there's a lot of media that talks about how being okay all the time or being optimistic can be the solution to different things, and that you just gotta brace through it and things will get better eventually. But I don't think that's necessarily a true thing, or at least not a great way to think. Are they choosing now to plow the snow? Are you kidding me? Simply being optimistic and trying to ignore the problem or just deal with it over time isn't always something that's a reasonable goal, all things considered. When you're not feeling okay, it's important to acknowledge that and actually work towards not necessarily dealing with it, but mental health is a very serious issue. And we're facing a very strong epidemic of it when it comes to social isolation. And it's really important for us to make those connections with other people. And if you're not okay, you feel lonely or stressed or anxious about stuff, it's important to find people you can talk to about it. And while me just being on the internet telling you that it's not really the best advice you can ever have, it's definitely a good place to start if you are feeling these sorts of feelings in the first place. If you have this sort of idea that you aren't feeling okay. When people ask how are things going in the hallway and whatnot, that tends to happen, your general response tends to be, yeah, everything's okay, or I'm fine, because you don't want to get them involved, or you don't want to get them thinking about you in a different way, and it's just usually the standard response. But I think we need to start asking people if they actually are okay, more than just a friendly gesture. If you do tell people that you're not okay, it opens up a whole different conversation, and then if depending on if they actually care about you or not will depend on how they actually respond. And even if they do care about you, they could be busy or dealing with something else, or you're just passing in the hallway. The question, are you okay, is very difficult to answer because it's not something that can just be answered in one yes or no a lot of the time. And when it is, there's a lot of deeper issues in that. The reason I bring this up is because recently I haven't felt okay in a decent while. And sure, I could have small moments of happiness or breaks in between, but in a general sense, I sometimes don't enjoy the life I'm living. And that's a bit privileged to say, obviously. I do have a very wonderful life I do have right now. I have a lot of privileges that a lot of people don't have. So complaining about it, it's not going to fix any issue. And I'm not trying to complain saying my life is awful by any means or stretch of the imagination, but that's the thing. We gotta stop comparing ourselves to others in order to define how we are doing or how we feel if we're okay or not. It's a very complex issue that I feel like a lot of forms of media don't explore to its fullest. I have seen specialists about this sort of things and the different personal things that are happening in my life. Some I don't necessarily wish to share, but in an overall sense, a lot of it comes down to feelings of isolation and monotony. Sections of my life that I feel like have no end, or sections that I feel like I just continue to put work in, but it's not getting anything out of it. So I've seen specialists about it, and I started journaling, and I think that's an also important step. If you have no one to necessarily talk to, or you don't feel like you want to share that information just yet until you have a better foundation of what's going on, journaling is a really good strategy that I found myself. Being able to journal your thoughts, share it out loud as if you were speaking to someone, or even a different style for yourself to try creatively is also an interesting endeavor. Part of why I like journaling so much is because I like to do a lot of creative writing, but I also like to do the video scripts for this channel and the travel videos I make. So it's kind of like a hybrid between the two, where I get to keep track of information for myself. I can look back and see what I did on certain days, but also understand how I was feeling, how different things affected my mental state and my emotional well-being, that is. In fact, I actually have a very widespread friend connection right now, and it's been the best I've been in a long time. And my family connection is strong too, but some things you do want to reflect upon yourself first before you put on to others. And that's not necessarily saying that it works for me, therefore it's going to work for you, but I'm just sharing my experience on the topic. I can see with a lot of my friends too that sometimes different things will get them down or cause them to act certain ways. And when you ask, are you okay? The answer usually is, yeah, I'm fine, or things are going well. But obviously, there's a lot deeper issues in that regard. Following up with your friends and checking up on them often to see, not necessarily to get them the crack, I guess that's a weird way to put it, but just waiting till they're ready to share. And by showing them that you're there for them and that you are available to listen, I think is a really important thing. I would like that, and that's something I have with some of my friends and family as well. So sharing that as a friend to other people, I think that's really important too. I guess some of the stigma around mental health is that it feels almost like a burden or guilt to some people, including myself, where you feel like you don't want to bother other people with your problems, or you feel guilty for getting them to comfort you or take the time to listen to you. But It really shouldn't be like that. If your friends are really close to you, then it should never feel like a chore to listen to them, let alone vice versa. It shouldn't be a chore or a task or something they're doing as a favor to you. It should be something that's able to be reciprocated with will. And if the other person's trying to guilt you or opposite way around where you guilt them, then I don't think it's necessarily a healthy relationship to have. Or, I don't know, it's just not something that I can see being beneficial on both sides or healthy in the long run. All in all, I just think it's important for you to share yourselves and be vulnerable. It's important not to block yourself off because further isolation only makes a lot of issues worse when it comes to mental health. And while it is a heavy topic, people deal with different things in different ways, different coping mechanisms, but I just feel like it's important to at least say that message out loud myself. That's all there is to it. Other than that, I'm excited for the future of this channel. Going forward, there's going to be more. I do have some videos in the works, and despite not having a lot of time to actually put in the work to edit them through, it is something that does bring me joy, and even recording this now is allowing me to reflect on these feelings I've been having to the audience like you. Alright, so that's been a talk in the park this week, a bit of a shorter one, but I hope you still enjoyed it nonetheless. Please take some time to self-reflect and maybe talk to someone you know. Talk about mental health a little bit. Ask truly how people are doing and reflect on yourself how you are doing. Bye for now.